joining us again today on a Friday morning on a live video. This is my name is Angela Olmos. I'm a full-time realtor in the Northeast Florida area, and I'm here with my co-host Delaney Bravo with Fiverr Mortgage. How are you doing today, Delaney?
I am good. I'm good. It's been a great week. We got through the little bit of the hurricane crazy, everything. We didn't get hit here as bad. I mean, it's been a really good week. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm excited to do this show. We've been pretty consistent on every Friday coming in and sharing some of our knowledge with you guys. So we're excited about doing that. And Delaney has some really good topics today. And I wanted to just chat a little bit about something that I've been getting a lot of questions about. And you probably get this too, Delaney, when it comes to like closing costs. Most people, especially first-time home buyers, they look at the sales price of the home and they think, okay, this is how much I'm going to have to pay for it. But that's obviously paid over a period of 30 years if you finance with a mortgage and a 30-year note. But there's also closing costs that you would have to factor in when you're making a purchase of a home. So that's what I wanted to chat with you guys about, so that way we can clear out any doubts and just kind of make it like a conversation about this, because I'm sure you see a lot of this, a lot of the same questions I get, Delaney, right?
Yes. And one thing is, a lot of people think, okay, I need 3.5% down or whatever, amount, but there are closing costs, and that is separate than your down payment. So I know we're going to roll through that right now, and I'll kind of chime in on any tips and tricks that I've seen.
Perfect. So we have some facts about closing costs. If you're thinking of buying a home, it's important to plan for that, because this is always going to have to be part of the transaction. There may be little closing costs, but there may be a lot of closing costs. There may be somewhere in the middle, but there'll always be some closing costs. And what are they? Now, closing costs are the fees and the expenses that you must pay before becoming a legal homeowner of a condo, a home, or a townhome. Closing costs vary depending on the purchase price of the home and how they're being financed. And this is a quote by Bankrate. So one of the things that I noticed is that some of the closing costs are prorations. So they definitely vary depending on the time of the year, the time of the month that you close. Some of the other closing costs are percentages of the sales price. So obviously they will vary depending on the purchase price of the home. So these are always like moving parts that you definitely want to be crystal clear on. So again, to eliminate any surprises through the whole buying process. So what do they typically include? So closing costs are factoring in government recording costs. Things like recording your deed with the county. Also, appraisal fees are included with closing costs. Let's talk a little bit about this, Delaney, because sometimes I see the appraisal fees paid up front to the lenders as we're going through the finance process, and sometimes they're paid at closing. Do you see that also?
Yes. So you guys, those who know me know I kind of keep it real. So what the appraisal doesn't necessarily have to be collected up front. The one thing we need to factor in is somebody is going out, driving to the property, doing a 25-page report on all the things that the lender requires on this home, determining a value, pulling comparable properties. So it is a very large report. And really, when you think about it, $500 to $700 isn't astronomical for the report and the work that goes in. But let's say that you do an appraisal and then you can't negotiate something, there's repairs that can't be negotiated, and we have to cancel the contract. If that fee is not collected up front, that appraiser still needs to be paid for the report that they did. So that is where, from a lender perspective, getting the payment up front is really important, so that if the contract cancels, then that appraiser is still paid. I've also done it where if somebody is not able to pay it up front, I just have them sign something that says, if you cancel, then you will need to pay this within 24 hours of cancellation. On VA loans, you cannot pay for it up front. So I have them sign that document, and that is collected at closing. The last thing I'll say on appraisals is you don't pay it twice. So if you do pay it up front, you're going to pay it regardless. But if you pay it up front, you're not collecting it again at closing. We'll show you already paid it. So a lot of ways to go there, but that's kind of how that works.
Yeah, and and I have seen that a lot of times it's better to pay it up front just to eliminate any, surprises or anything like that, because it is part of the lending application, right? I mean, the house does have to appraise for you to be able to get that mortgage. So, yeah, I think it's just good practice if you can pay that up front. It'll just be one less thing that would have to be added onto the closing cost.
Mhm.
But typically, it could be added on also credit report fees, lender origination fees, title services, such as what the title company actually charges to close the transaction, and get everything dispersed and recorded properly. The tax service fees. This is one of those that gets prorated depending on the time of the year that you close, and obviously also the time of the month. Typically here in Northeast Florida, our property taxes are due in November. So, if the closer that you get to that date, there'll definitely be prorations to adjust for that. Also the surveys. Now, surveys are typically required only on single family homes that actually have land attached to them. So the survey is just a survey map that you get at closing, a document that you might only see at closing, or when you want to install a fence around your yard, or maybe even a pool in the backyard. Then you need to know exactly how much of that land actually belongs in ownership to you with the house. So that's what the survey would give us. And those are also typically considered closing costs. You can pay for the survey at closing. Now, attorney's fees closely related to the actual closing of the transaction would be included on there, and any kind of underwriting fees, and brokerage fees. So we do see all of this lumped together in the form of closing costs. And the next question that pops up after that is, well, how much are they? So in terms of cost, what we typically see is a range. There's not a one size fits all, but we do see a range of anywhere between 2 and 5% of the sales price of the home for closing costs. And this would have to do with the type of financing that you're getting for the purchase. This would have to do with the type of property that you're buying, also the time of the year, what would be prorated. That's basically what that would be. And then an example of this, let's say you're buying a $363,000 home. Well, closing costs you could expect would be anywhere between $7,000 and $8,000. It just really just depends on what else would be included on there. So it's really important to work with your lender, and also your realtor to eliminate any surprises. So when it comes to this closing costs, these are fees that most of the time are paid upfront at the time of closing. They're actually added on to your down payment. So when it comes time for closing, you would have a figure to either wire to the title company or bring a certified check. Most of the closings recently have been all wire transfers for down payments and closing costs, but this is all what's included for when you need to purchase or on the day of closing. So closing costs can vary, but you'll need to work with your lender in the process. And as you're getting ready to buy a home, it's important to plan out for these fees and payments, so that way you'll be responsible at closing. So if we can answer any more questions about this, please connect, and we're here to help.
Yes. Let me go ahead. And with the closing costs, you can always, there's ways to customize it. So like if you want to have a super low rate, there is going to be a charge for you to have a super low rate. That is considered a closing cost. So typically you're going to see about 3% in our area. But let's say you want to spend $10,000 additional dollars to get the lowest possible rate. That is still going to be considered a closing cost. So that's where you'll see up to the 5% is when you want to, add things to get you where you want to be. So I would factor in about 3% overall. And I'm going to go ahead and share my little thing, which is funny because it actually, let me go here. Let's see. Let me see if this is the right one really quick.
Yeah, the buy downs, the rate buy downs, that's something that would be very popular to include in the closing costs. Like Delaney was saying, with the rates having gone up here in recent years, we still see a lot of people wanting to get a lower rate, and that's still a possibility. You would chat with Delaney to see, okay, how much of a buy down can we have to reduce the interest rate, which in turn will reduce your monthly payment. So there are ways of doing this, and then, working the numbers to be what you would want in terms of your payment.
Yes. And on the other flip side, if you really need credits for closing, we can also increase the rate for me to give you a credit. So don't let money stand in the way. Don't let closing costs stand in the way. We do have multiple ways to work around this. We can also request that the seller give a credit to help cover some of these. And that's more Angela's area. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. But don't let that stand in the way of you looking to buy a home.
Absolutely. There's always ways to make it work. So the main thing is, just sit down and have a consultation, with the lender and with myself, and then we can walk you guys through and guide you through the process.
Yes. And if you bring that up, the funny thing is my first thing is not budgeting for closing costs. So we were on the same wavelength today. So we're going to talk about some home buying mistakes. So these are things that and mistake is a very strong word, but there's some things that can make the process smoother. So a couple things that we want to talk about is not budgeting for closing costs. I don't have to go into that. We just kind of went through that. So making sure that you're budgeting for those additional costs. That's why on every single client I work with, I do an estimate to show the total amount needed for closing. You do not want to go under contract on a home and not have a full estimate and understand completely what exactly is going to be needed from you. This is the biggest purchase of your life, most likely, and you want to make sure you're confident and comfortable. So we'll go through all of that together. Neglecting homeowners insurance. This is one thing, and it's a personal pet peeve of mine, and I never let this happen, but not having a client who doesn't secure homeowners insurance within, a certain time frame before they close. So as soon as we go under contract, I'm going to get an insurance quote for you for you to shop. I legally can't tell you who to go with, but I can provide an option or two for you to compare. So once you secure, okay, I want to go with this quote, let me know and we'll go ahead and get it bound. There's things in Florida, such as the hurricanes, that a lot of carriers will shut down and say, we're not taking new policies until this hurricane clears. So you don't want to be in a position where you cannot obtain insurance, and it would cause us to not be able to close on time. I've had it happen a time or two over the years. But do you ever, like with the homeowners insurance piece of it, have you ever had like anybody who this has happened to in the middle of like a hurricane, or maybe they can't get the house insured and that causes an issue?
Yeah, I've had closings before where they would have been forecasted for the day that may have had a storm coming through the area. But obviously, when you put in a closing date on a contract, at the time you're submitting the offer, you don't know what's going to happen right on that day that you're saying you're going to close. But as things progress, and with the climate that we have on any coastline, you could have any kind of tropical storm or hurricane or anything like that. So yes, it's really important to buy an insurance as soon as possible. And I remember at that time, they had not bound insurance, and we had to wait for the hurricane to pass. Fortunately, it didn't cause any damage to the house. We did do kind of like a brief inspection afterwards, just to make sure that the roof was still in the same condition. And fortunately, it wasn't a major storm, and we were able to close as planned. But we did have to reschedule the closing to a later date because of that storm.
Yes. So making sure, and I'm kind of on my clients on this. I'm like, listen, once you're under contract, here's the 3 things that we need to do next. And one of those is homeowners insurance. So making sure you get that. And then the last one is not negotiating. This is where Angela's going to come in and make sure that you have the strongest possible offer, whether that is, going in at a full price, whatever the seller's asking, maybe even going in a little bit higher. If there's 5 people who want to buy this home and want to put in an offer, you might have to structure things a little bit differently than if it's been sitting on the market for 35 days. Can you ask for a seller credit to help with your closing costs? There's a lot of factors there, but this is where Angela has the experience and expertise over, how many years have you been doing this? Like, I forget, is it 14?
Yeah, I'm dating myself here, but yeah, it's going to be 20 years in January. I've been in real estate.
So, you're working with top of the line over here and knowing exactly how to structure that offer with the best chances of getting it accepted. So not negotiating, not doing homeowners insurance, and not budgeting for closing costs are 3 of the biggest mistakes that I see. And the last one I'll share just from a personal standpoint is not communicating and being transparent with both your loan officer and real estate agent. Life happens, like we talked about. If you need to switch a job, if you do need to get a car because your car stopped working in the middle of the process, if you do need to open a new credit card, whatever that is, you have to think about, you are taking a snapshot of your entire financial picture. And that is what underwriters are looking at when they are approving your loan. If that snapshot changes in any way, then I need to know ASAP so I can let the underwriting team know. It will be found out if you have a foreclosure, if you have a short sale in the last X amount of years, if you have another property, if you open a credit card, if you do switch a job, all of these things will be found out throughout the process. So I don't think people do this intentionally, but you don't want to sit at the closing table and have a new debt pop up. That's not the end of the world, but we do need to go back to the underwriting team to update that snapshot. So it can delay things. So I don't know if you've ever had this situation. I was sitting at a closing table, and I got the notification that a new debt had popped up, and I was sitting right there across from the buyer, and I was like, hey, so it looks like a new auto loan. And they were like, oh yeah, we bought a Tesla. And I was like, so we had to reschedule the closing, go back, get it reapproved. It wasn't a big deal, but you don't want to put yourself in that position. So, and same on the real estate side. I know you like being transparent, like about what you think about a home, being transparent about if it's a good fit, if it's not a good fit, if you're not satisfied with something. Like, do you ever have that on your side, Angela, as far as like, not knowing the full picture and that causing issues later on?
That only happens when we don't do a buyer's consultation. And that's one of the reasons why I always, before I take on a client, I have a buyer's consultation with them just to find out truly what's important to them. Because if I just take for face value that they want to buy a home, that's not enough information for me to really bring them to the home that they want to buy. There are millions of homes that they could choose from. But we need to know what's the price range that they've been approved for, what's important to them as far as the location. Is it schools? Is it to be closer to work? Is it to be closer to family? You don't know that if you're just, randomly trying to find homes. So when you have the most information, and that's where communication really comes in handy, just to be able to know exactly what's important to my clients and be able to deliver that, it always starts with a good buyer's consultation.
Well, and it's because we are here to serve you. Like, our job is to like handhold and walk you through this process. We've done it hundreds of times over the years. You may have done this once or twice. So like, for example, if you don't know, or you haven't had the conversation of what's most important to you, location, things like that, maybe Angela's not sending you the homes that are really the most like fit for you. So, and same on my side. So you just want to make sure it allows us to be better resources for you. So that's my little tidbit for today.
I think it's amazing. Yeah. Thanks for reminding us of that. And, these are things that could easily be taken for granted. Like, if you don't really think about this, you just look at, oh yeah, I'm going to go buy a home. There's so many little details throughout the transaction that you really don't want to miss. And this is where having a trusted advisor, someone that can walk you through the process, that's been have done this several times, could come in really handy. So we're here to help. I hope that you guys give us an opportunity, and that's really easy. You just see our phone numbers scrolling around on the bottom of the screen. Just as easy as just sending us a text, giving us a call, and then we can set up a time to do a consultation for you.
Yes, let me go. Okay, I got some fun stuff happening in Jacksonville, if you want to pull that up when you have a second. Yeah. We're going to keep it nice and short and sweet today. So there's a lot of stuff coming up. We have Father's Day coming up. Wait.
Father's Day?
Sorry. Okay. This is so funny. I clicked the wrong tab and I went to the holidays page on this website, and the first thing was Father's Day. So I got to get it together over here. So,
really?
No, you're like double Father's Day. No, they need double Mother's Day. Let me tell you.
Yeah, like every month, I think we should.
Love that. Love that. So ignore me there, but the First Coast Heart Walk is happening September 9th, and it's hosted by the American Heart Association. It is a great cause, and it's something fun just to do. Get out there, walk around, see downtown, and they'll have a lot of fun little booths and a ton of stuff going on. So it's at the Jacksonville Fairgrounds downtown. It's free. There's nothing that you need to do. You can donate if you would like, and just something fun and a little bit different to do with the family.
Cool.
Sorry about my phone. The second is 2023 Florida Fin Fest, which I thought was kind of cool. There's a lot of artists, as far as musical artists coming, Grammy nominated artists. So a lot of fun things. And there's, speakers there, booths, food trucks, the whole 9 yards. So that is going to be September 15th and 16th at the Seawalk Pavilion down in Jacks Beach. And I feel like I haven't featured anything over in Jacks Beach, which, do not forget, it's an amazing area, really fun, really like kind of hip, and just those beachy vibes.
Yeah, I like it too. And anytime you're near the coastline, you get that sea breeze, and it's just so nice, especially around this time of the year.
Yes. Oh my gosh. There's a huge difference between where I live in my neighborhood and being on a cul-de-sac, and then going towards the amenity center. The wind is just so nice. So the beach definitely does that. And the last one is Thomas Rhett. He is a country singer. He's going to be coming to Veterans Memorial Arena downtown. You can see that right here. And then he also has, if it opens up for me, Cole Swindell, Nate Smith. I'm not the biggest on all the country people, but this is Friday, next Friday. So there's still a ton of tickets left. And Ticketmaster, you can go ahead and have a fun little date night, 7:30 to 10:30. So that's some stuff that's happening.
I love it. All right. Yeah. Well, Jacksonville has so much entertainment for you guys. If you are listening to us from out of town, this place has it all. We have entertainment, we have great weather, affordable housing, great mortgage lenders, and real estate agents. So we're here to help, guys. So with that said, I hope everyone has a fabulous weekend. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing our video, and we will see you again next week on our next video. Take care. Have a great weekend.